Hey guys, so yesterday we had Sarah's story, right? Um, and we learned, I love it. We learned that Dwight digs holes in the backyard and sits in them. And it was the twist you must learn. And it turned out that Sarah learned the twist and ended up dancing with her grandmother and had a great time. And it was her grandmother had just gotten a divorce. So it ended up being very important for her grandmother, and Sarah felt really good about it. Okay, so moving on to our next chapter. It's another Tommy chapter. So this one's called The Argument About Dwight. All right, let's see here. By Tommy. This part isn't really about Origami Yoda giving advice. It's about an argument Kellen and Harvey and I had about Dwight. I wouldn't bother putting it in the case file, except that to figure out Origami Yoda, I've also got to figure out Dwight. And I've got to figure out if Dwight is trying to trick me for being a jerk to him sometimes. And this is about a time I guess I really was a pretty big jerk. One day at lunch, Lance comes over and sits in Dwight's seat at our table. Now, that wouldn't be a big deal, but we didn't have any extra seats, so Dwight would have to go somewhere else. Dude, I hate to be a butt, but that's Dwight's seat, I told Lance. No, it's not, said Harvey. It's Lance's seat now. Nobody ever asked Dwight to sit here. He just sits here. But I asked Lance to sit here, so that overrules Dwight. Where's Dwight going to sit? I asked Kellen. Hopefully on the other side of the cafeteria, or even better, on the other side of the planet. Dude, said Kellen. He's not that bad. Yes, he is, said Harvey. He is a giant goober. We can't all be perfect like you, Kellen told him. I may not be perfect, but I'm not half as annoying as Dwight, said Harvey. Yeah, you're twice as annoying, said Kellen. So they're having this little fight over they want Lance to sit at their table with them, and they're going to kick Dwight out. And so this must be before all the Origami Yoda stuff. And Kellen's kind of standing up for Dwight. And as you're reading this, I'm kind of wondering if you've had something like this in the past when we were at school with the lunchroom of people kind of fighting over who should sit where, or who's allowed and what group. That's when we saw Dwight come out of the lunch line with his tray. He is always near the end because he sort of wanders around instead of run walking to the cafeteria like everybody else. Here he comes, said Kellen. Lance, you better go. No, said Harvey. Let's vote. I vote Lance. Kellen votes Dwight. Tommy, how do you vote? Well, I said, wishing I hadn't been dragged into it. Maybe Lance should stay? No thanks, said Lance. You guys are all annoying. He got up and left, and Dwight sat down and started poking holes in his hamburger with a straw. I couldn't tell if he was acting weird because he overheard me or because he always acts weird. Just thinking that maybe he had overheard was enough to make me feel kind of barfy for the rest of the day. Result of poking holes in a hamburger with a straw. Now squeeze it out and eat it. Ugh. So I wonder if you can also connect to Tommy feeling bad for saying Dwight shouldn't sit there. So that's the whole story. And I think before we move to the next chapter, it's important to ask, why did they include this short little story of Harvey and Tommy kind of being mean to Dwight? Really more Harvey being mean, right? Kellen stood up for him, and Tommy was kind of caught in the middle. But why did they include this story about them being mean to Dwight? So here's your Jamboard today. And I want you to answer the question, Why did the author include the story of the boys thinking about kicking Dwight out of their lunch group? So put your sticky note here and just think like, what might this have to do with the rest of the story? Okay, so this was a shorter read aloud today. So after you finish the Jamboard, please begin independent reading. Independent reading. Thank you. Bye-bye.